Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, depending on whichever part of the world you are tuning in from. Uh, Welcome to yet another promising edition of the Forex Morning Mastery, as we are going to be taking another fresh new look at the financial market. My own name is Sheriff Daramola, and for the next 30 to 40 minutes, I'm going to be your host, where I will be taking you on a trading journey to dissect the current market structures of the assets we've been monitoring since the beginning of the week, with the utmost intent of unraveling the potential direction of price action for today's trading session. Well, it has been a very inspiring 24 hours, as we saw how the US dollar gained some traction yesterday, which of course gave us some significant amount of profits on the GBPUSD and the XAUUSD, except for the US OILSPOT, which didn't do very well during the course of yesterday's trading session. And we are going to be looking at how we will be positioning ourselves for the next move. And of course, we do understand that there are quite a handful of high impactful events from the US economic docket that everyone in the market are looking forward to. And in fact, the anticipation of this event usually reflects on the chart as price action. So we are going to be taking a dissection into the current market structure today. And since the beginning of the week, we've been monitoring three major assets for those who are joining us for the first time. That is the GBPUSD, the US OILSPOT, and of course the XAUUSD. Now, for those of you who are joining us for the first time and who do not know what this is all about, well, the Forex Morning Mastery is a platform that is intended to do follow-up details on my weekend videos. So during the course of the weekend, I usually share a couple of assets that I want to be looking at for the new week. And after sharing this, we come here on a daily basis, gather as a community, and engage in follow-ups and reviews of our current positions in preparation of both the London and the New York session every day. And the session usually kickstarts about 8:05 a.m. UTC, 9:05 a.m. West African time. And in fact, I do recommend that you stay tuned in so you don't miss out on any of the valuable ideas we will be deliberating on today. Now, my aim here is to equip you with the knowledge and skills necessary to make informed trading decisions independently. Now, the more time you spend with me, the better you will become at comprehending our analytical approach and eventually utilizing the information gathered here to enhance your own trading decision and strategies. So once again, you're highly welcome, and I encourage you to stay engaged in the comment section. So with that being said, here we will be diving right into the business. I can see a handful of comments here. Hello, Road to Freedom. Good morning. Hello, Jonah Aruna. Good morning to you. Your take on okay, no problem. We shall be looking at that asset in a moment. Then I also see your compliment here. I can't find the name again. I think the pin button has covered it. So I saw your comment, everyone. Thank you very much for your compliment. So with that being said, we will be diving right into the business. And as usual, the first thing we usually do is to check on the economic calendar. And of course, we do know how important this is, as these fundamental factors usually manifest on the chart in technical patterns and price movement. Now, by monitoring the economic calendar, we can easily identify potential correlations between key economic releases and specific technical patterns on the chart, hereby giving us valuable information needed to position ourselves in such a way that we can capitalize on any potential move prior, during, and even after this economic event. Now, for this week, based on the asset we are monitoring so far, we are going to be focusing on economic features from both the United States and the United Kingdom. And of course, we do know that the United Kingdom does not have any high impactful event for this week. So basically, it's going to be more of catalyst coming in from the United States economic docket. Now, for today, Tuesday, December 5th, we are looking at the ISM Services PMI. And this is another key economic indicator that measures the performance and expectations of the service sector in the United States. Now, generally speaking, a higher than expected data typically signals economic expansion, boosting market sentiment, while a lower than expected reading may indicate contraction and potentially dampen investors' confidence in the US economy. Now, if we look at the previous data here for the month of October, it came in at 51.8, and we saw how the consensus, that's economists, were projecting a 52 for the month of November. So it simply tells us that there is a positivity in the here that there will be a little bit of contraction in that sector. So we'll look forward to see what the actual data will be. Will it be just as expected, below expectations, or even beyond expectations? However, as technical traders, we do know and understand that the anticipation of high impactful events like this usually reflects on the chart as price action, as the way market participants are anticipating that event will transition into some patterns and structures that we can use to guide our trading decisions for today. And this is basically what we are going to be doing here this morning. So I encourage us all to stay tuned in so you don't miss out on any of these ideas we will be talking about. So I see your comment, Philis, good morning. Hello Rex, good morning to you. Silent Digo, I just hope I pronounced your name correctly. I'm sorry if I didn't. Good morning to you and thank you. Glad to have you around with us this morning. So with that being said, here we will be diving into our first asset for today, which of course is going to be the USOILSPOT. And on the USOILSPOT, it wasn't a very good start for us for this week, as we saw two lost positions from yesterday's trading session. We had a sell position which was triggered around the breakdown of the $73.50 level, as you saw here. Then we saw our price climbed up to trigger the buy stop order around the $74.75 level, and of course both positions went into a loss, making it a not too good start for the week. But I want to take succor in the fact that the week is still very, very early, and there is still room to recover the losses we incurred, just like we always do. So we need to exercise patience, and let's see, look out for new trading setup that we will be using to guide our decisions for today. Now, for those of you who are been with me, who are with me on both my TradingView and Telegram platform, you must have gotten an update as to how we are going to be managing our positions for today's trading session. Then I also want to reiterate here, especially for those of us who are joining for the first time, that the Forex Money Mastery, on the Forex Money Mastery, we usually focus on the 1 hour time frame. So if you do want to have a background knowledge of how we got to this level, how we were able to identify the major trend lines, the key levels that we are using to guide our decisions, then I will encourage you to watch my previous video, which encapsulates the top-down analysis of this asset from the higher time frame. And if you in any way missed out on this video, so you can check the description box of this current video right below here to look out for the links that will direct you to the videos that you have missed. So with that being said, let's dive right in. Now, since the beginning of the week, it is quite clear that price action has been stuck within a range, and during our live session yesterday, we actually acknowledged the range between the $74.75 level and the $73.50 area, which was actually what we were using to guide our trading decisions for yesterday's trading session. However, after the end of yesterday's trading sessions, it now appears that the range has further expanded into the $73 psychological level, hereby giving us a wider range to work with going forward. So with this being identified here, we will not be taking the $73.50 level as anything relevant anymore, as our center of focus right now would be between the confinement of the $74.75 level and the $73 area. Now, you know how we do it in this community. Usually when we have this kind of flat channel that emphasize the level of uncertainty that is going on in the market, we usually exercise patience and wait for either the breakout or breakdown of that range to give us an opportunity to trade. So with the situation here, we either wait for price to break out of the $74.75 and the key level at the $75 area to look out for buying opportunities, or the breakdown retest of the $73 area to welcome selling opportunities. However, with the uncertainty that has gripped this market currently, and from a fundamental perspective, this is an expression of concerns by the market participants as regards to the OPEC plus supply cuts and how efficient it will be. Now, one of the concerns of participants as regards this is the reluctancy in placing any aggressive bet at this point in time to the upside. Of course, we know when there is an oil cut decision made, usually price supposed to rise, but instead we are seeing the opposite scenario here where price is dropping. And for me, this is a sign that and even from the reports we've had across the news, it shows that investors doubt how the output cutback will be measured and how it will be distributed amongst the 23 members of the OPEC plus. So this is a little bit of turmoil within the OPEC plus members, and this right here is a bad signal, not a good signal for the financial market. So as a result of this, we are seeing some bearish momentum. However, if we look at what has been happening here in the last 24 hours, it's quite clear that sellers appear to be losing that momentum right now, as you will see that area between the $73.50 level and the $73 area had remained a very strong buying niche, as every attempt by the sellers to break through this area has been negated by the buyers at this point, hereby giving us an insight into the potential that price may likely continue to the upside. So in that regard, we will be looking out for buying opportunities, and in fact I newly identified a level here at the $74 area, which may serve as the neckline of this potential reversal pattern that we have here. So if we take into consideration the impulsive bearish move that brought us into the $73 area, which resulted in this continued buy pressure around this area, you know that we look out for necklines to confirm that truly we have a reversal pattern. So I'm not necessarily saying that we have a theoretically identified reversal pattern here, but if we look at the structure from a psychological perspective, it's more or less like a reversal pattern. As you will see, sellers are losing the momentum here. So with the neckline situated around the $74 area, I want to be seeing price action break out of the 74 area to validate the potency of this reversal pattern. And if we are lucky enough to have a retest of structure, this will be a very beautiful opportunity to join the bullish momentum even before the breakout of the resistant line of that range around the $74.75 level will get broken to the upside. So hereby giving us an opportunity to maximize the potential of that bullish move. Then another level, another line that I saw here this morning is this descending trend line, which I also spotted, and it has also played a major role in defining the direction of price action since last week Friday. As you will see, this area was a selling niche at some point. Sellers were pushing price to the downside. Then we saw it broken. We saw buy pressure around around here. We saw buy pressure here, though price was nosediving to the downside. Then we saw the breakdown. We saw a sharp rejection here during yesterday's trading session. Now the question here is, how are we going to be seeing a breakout since sellers are finding it difficult to break through the $73 area today? And one interesting thing about that descending trend line here is how it also shares a beautiful confluence with that $74 area, which is serving as the neckline for today's trading session. So let's see how the market will play out. The way things are looking like here makes me feel comfortable that buyers may likely take over this market. So as a result, I will be positioning myself above the $74 area to capitalize on the bullish momentum. And if price action continues to climb new highs, then a breakout of the $74.75 level and the $75 area will be welcoming more buy positions to our existing trade. Now, in as much as we look out for buying opportunities, you know how we do it in this community, we also want to keep tabs with the potentials that sellers could also come into play. And if we consider the strong bearish momentum that has been going on in this market in the last 3 to 4 days now, we cannot just jump into conclusion and say that sellers don't have any chances at all to push price to the downside. And if you also take into consideration the disagreements amongst the OPEC Plus members regards to the distribution of their quota, this might likely send some negative signal to the market too as well. Now, if we are going to be considering selling the US All Spot today, what is it that we want to see on this chart that will make us convinced that buyers may not likely be advantageous at this juncture? Well, since we already have a support line, which happens to be the lowest point price action has been for this week, and this same area has been a strong buying niche since the beginning of the week, which further emphasized the strength of the buyers around this area. Now, the only condition that will make us want to consider selling is for price to take out all the buy positions around the $73 area, which could come in the form of a breakdown retest of that structure, where the inability of buyers to be able to climb back above the $73 area will be a beautiful signal to join a decline to the downside. And in fact, if price action goes on to break down the $72.35 level, we will be looking out for more opportunities to sell. So let's see how the market will play out today. Our center of focus is just between a tight range, a $1 range, that is the $74 area, and the $73 area, where depending on the direction of the breakout will give us an idea into where price is likely going to be going, at least for the first half of this week. So let's mark out these levels on our chart, as we will be needing them as a reference point to guide our independent trading decisions for today. So this is my simple view on the US All Spot for today. So let's see how this will play out, and trust me, I will be with you in the comment section of both my Trading View and Telegram platforms to give you update as at when due. So if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to let me know in the comment section. I'll really appreciate that. And I'll be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds off to see if there are any questions, after which I encourage you to use that time to mark out these levels on your chart, as you will be needing them as a reference point to guide your independent trading decisions for today. All right, so I see your comment here, Kelechi. Good morning to you. Glad to have you around with us. It's been a while, truly. Trust you are doing very well, and I do hope you had a wonderful weekend out there. So it's great to have you back here. You're welcome. All right, so in the absence of no questions, I do want to assume that we are all on the same page, and in that regard, let's move on to the next asset on our watch list. So the next asset on our watch list for this morning is the cable market, that is the GBPUSD, and in fact we had an interesting situation happen in this market yesterday, as we saw, despite this whipsaw we saw during the early hours of the week, price finally nosedive to the downside, breaking down the support line of the ascending channel we identified on the higher time frame to incite a potential momentum shift in this particular market. And congrats to everyone who took advantage of these trading opportunities, as you will currently be running with a minimum of, let's say, about 50 pips thereabouts at this point in time. So well done to you guys for capitalizing on these opportunities. And looking at this from a fundamental perspective, it is understood that the expectation of a dovish Fed stance as regards to their monetary policy is has led to the decline of the US Treasury bond yield, which of course is in correlation with the US dollar. The higher the US Treasury bond yield goes, the higher the US dollar, and if the US Treasury bond yield drops, then the US dollar too will decline as well. So it's more or less directly proportional to this asset. And of course, this is keeping the US dollar under pressure, which may likely help the GBPUSD to push to the upside. So we do not want to get too excited here that the week has started on a bearish note and that this may likely incite further decline to the downside. We also want to be taking into consideration the fundamental factors that are driving this market, which of course will definitely be affecting the market sentiment in this environment. And remember that throughout the course of this week, we do not have any economic catalyst from the United Kingdom, major one at all. We do not have any. And of course, this week is jam-packed and laced with series of an handful of high impactful events from the United States, from the ISM services PMI to the non-farm payroll to the average hourly earnings, all of which are very high impactful events. So this is what majority in the market will be looking forward to as cues into how price will be playing out this week. Now let's run through the technical perspective and what led to the decisions we made at the beginning of the week, especially for those of us who missed out on this on the earlier session. Now, at the beginning of the week, now for those who missed out on my weekend video on the GBPUSD, please watch my video so that you can have a background knowledge of how we did the top-down analysis, how we identify the key levels we are using to guide our decisions for this week. So you can find the link right in the description box below of this current video you are watching. Now, going back into the technical structure, remember that at the beginning of the week, we identified this ascending trend line, which happens to be the support line of the ascending channel we identified in our weekend video on the GBP USD. And of course, if price remains above the ascending trend line, we want to feel comfortable buying the assets that we are looking at. Now, in addition to that structure, there was the range where price action was initially confined at the beginning of the week, as we saw price ranged between the 1.2750 level, which happens to be the highest point price action has been for this week, and the lowest point at the time we were analyzing this market yesterday was at the 1.26680 level. And one of the things I said here yesterday is that as soon as price got into the support line of that range, we saw a little bit of buy pressure around this area, which could incite some opportunities to buy, and we were looking at price breaking out and retesting the 1.26840 for confirmations to join that uptrend move, which actually never happened. And we did agree that, considering the impulsive move here, that if price action will break down and retest the structure at the 1.268, we will be looking out for selling opportunities. And of course, that was exactly what happened here. We saw the breakdown retest, price dropped to the downside here, and price moved about, let's see how many pips from this level, moved about 64 pips before another wave of bullish momentum is happening here. And I can remember that during the New York session yesterday, I told us all to had one more position at the 1.26180 area, a level which has tendencies for buying pressure at some point in time. That was last week Friday, that if price breaks down, we will sell. And of course, we did sell. And right now, price is still running. It's still running in a loss right now around this, with about, let's see how many pips that is. That's about 3 pips loss at this point in time. Now, in fact, with the situation we have right now, I will be encouraging us all to move all stop losses on all our sell positions to secure those current positions we have right now, as we begin to notice the emergence of buy pressure around this area. And personally, I would suggest that anywhere above the 1.26400 area seems most appropriate to move all stop losses to. As you know, we do want to be giving enough breathing space for price action to move around. So let's see how the market will play out around this area. Now, with a well-secured position at this juncture, what is going to be our next line of action for today? Well, first of all, I do want to mention that we had a breakdown of the support line of the ascending channel we identified on the higher time frame. And usually, whenever we have this kind of scenario, we expect at some point in time, price may come back to retest the structure in anticipation of a downtrend continuation. Now, we are at a crucial juncture here where price may reverse to do a retest of structure, or may even continue the decline to the downside. However, if you look at what has been going on here since the later part of the New York session yesterday, you will see how sellers have been struggling around the 1.26180 and the 1.26100 area. Now, what has been going on here is that every time sellers drop into the structure, we saw how buyers negated all their attempt to push price further to the downside. And in fact, the same thing is currently happening right now. Despite this engulfing bearish candle, you will see that buy pressure still persists around this area, hereby resulting into a potential reversal setup around this area. Now, how will this reversal setup transition? Is it going to be a move that will be doing a retest of the ascending trend line that was broken, maybe to incite a downtrend scenario? Or is there going to be a chance that price will break down this lowest low to incite more selling opportunities here? So what we are going to be doing first of all here is to acknowledge the 1.2610 area, which is a very strong psychological level. In fact, I would like this to, let me bring out my line chart so we can have specific point of connection. So I'm looking for a psychological level. So let's just use the 1.26050 level. So I will give this a wine color, and then let's label. Okay, so we have the 1.26050 level, and we have a wine color. All right, and place this at the bottom right hand side of beautiful. So here we go now. So we can see that that area between the 1.26180 level and the 1.26050 area is becoming a buying niche, as every time sellers come into that area, they were unable to break through that structure. Now, if we now consider the impulsive move that brought us into this point, we may likely be seeing a reversal setup in the form of a double bottom structure, where we would need to have a neckline to help us validate that reversal pattern if it gets broken to the upside. So to do this correctly, let's we have the 1.2640 area. That's another psychological level. So I'll give this a green color. We'll be serving as our neckline for this potential reversal pattern. That is if sellers are unable to break down that previous low. So we have the 1.26400 level. You do want to be marking this one too out on your chart. Let's see. We have this right here. Then we give this a green color. Now here we go. Now we want to see price action break out of the neckline. That is the breakout of the structure to confirm that truly we are going bullish on this one. So if price can break out of the structure, we look out for buying opportunities there. And if price continues to climb, now if price continues to climb, as soon as it gets into the ascending trend line that was broken yesterday, we will ensure that all stop losses are moved to protect the position, as we do want to see how the market is going to be reacting to that trend line to decide if we are going to be adding more buy positions to our existing trade or getting ready to join another bearish move to the downside. So if price gets into this area and we begin to notice selling pressure here, this could be a form of retest of the structure that was broken to incite a downtrend continuation. However, if price action breaks out of that structure, then price is back above that ascending trend line, which happens to be the support line of the ascending channel we identified on the higher time frame. Now price is back into the buyer's territory, and at this point we feel more comfortable adding more buy positions to our existing trade. And this also lines up with that 1.26840 level that we identified during our live session yesterday for more buying opportunities in this particular market. So let's see how the market will play out here. So this is what I'm looking at to buy the GBPUSD for today. However, if this does not happen, that is, price does not go to as far as the 1.26400 level, let alone breaking out of that structure, then a breakdown of the lowest point at the 1.26050 for this week will be all we need to add more sell positions to our existing trade. So you do want to be marking this level out too as well. So let's see how price will play out within this area, as we have a specific range which will be our center of focus for today's trading session, and that is between the 1.264 and the 1.26050 area, where depending on the direction of this breakout will give us an insight into where price is likely going to be going for today's trading session. So let's see how the market will anticipate the ISM services PMI today, and let's position ourselves right around this area to capitalize on the next big move that will be happening from the structure. So these are my views here on the GBPUSD for today. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So as usual, I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds off to see if there are any questions, after which we move on to the final and last asset on our watch list for today's trading session. I see your comment, Ronald. Good morning to you. I see your comment, Road to Freedom. All right. I know GBPUSD is your favorite. I do hope you found the narrative this morning useful in making your independent trading decisions. So in the absence of no further questions, I want to assume that we are all on the same page and that I am permitted to move on to the next asset on our watch list. But if you still have questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section below. All right, so the next asset we are going to be looking at this morning is my favorite asset, the XAUUSD, popularly known as the gold spot. And in fact, we had a very profitable position from yesterday's trading session as we took advantage of that sell position at the breakdown retest of the $2,072 area. Remember, during our live session yesterday, the $2,072 area had already broken to the downside, and I did say here that we want to see price come back to retest the structure to give us an opportunity to join that decline to the downside. And for those of us who capitalize on this opportunity, well done and kudos to you for being on standby to capitalize on this move. And for those of you who were part of the XAUUSD live window yesterday, remember that we added two more levels to capitalize on that bearish momentum. We added one more at the $2,050 area where we had a sell stop order to capitalize on the trend continuation. Then we also added another one right here at the $2,035 level, which already was broken. Then price action came back into that area and is still trading at this point in time. Then we also added another level at the $2,018 area, which is yet to be broken. And so in this regard, we have a very beautiful trading sell position running at this point in time. Congratulations to everyone who capitalized on this opportunity. Now, for the sake of those who are not part of our earlier sessions, I will be taking you through how we got to the point of deciding to sell the XAUUSD. And before I go into that details, I want to reiterate here that if you had not watched my video, my weekend video on the XAUUSD, kindly watch that video as it will give you a background knowledge into my top-down analysis on this asset, where we were able to identify the key significant parameters we will be using to guide our decisions for the week. If you missed it, the links are right in the description box of this current video right below here. Check it out after the session to keep yourself updated. Now, in the last 24 hours, we saw a huge price movement. The first thing that happened at the beginning of this week was this phenomenal move that broke out of our key level at the $2,078 level right into the record high at the $2,143 area to emphasize some impulsive decisions at the beginning of the week. We were looking at various factors, from the attack on the US vessels on the Red Sea to the escalating tensions in the Middle East and the dovish Fed expectations as regards their intending rate cuts by the beginning of next year, and of course the mixed data from the Chinese economic docket as well. So all of these parameters here usually favor safe haven assets such as the gold. Now, we saw this astronomical move to the upside yesterday, and in fact immediately price tested that high, we saw a big and sharp pullback to the downside. And of course, we are not surprised at this strong bearish move to the downside. We do know that from a psychological standpoint, that when price action usually finds a new high, the emotions of fear sets into the market, as those who had bought at a very cheap price will quickly and out of fear want to close in some of their positions in the thinking that price may crash at any point in time. And as a result of this, we usually see this retracement move, consolidation phases, and choppy situations happen around new highs. And this is one of the reasons why most traders don't usually trade around new highs, because of the uncertainty that is usually known to be favored around that environment. However, despite this all uncertain scenario, we had structures that we identified on the chart yesterday that we said we will be using to guide our trading decisions for yesterday's trading session. Now, one of the things we saw here yesterday was the breakout of our key level, which are the $2,078 area. Remember, we identified our key level at the beginning of the week. If you watch my video on the XAUUSD, you saw how we got to mark that level as our key level for the week. Then we saw price breakout of that key level. Now, you all know how we use our key levels in this community. When price remains above our key level, we look out for patterns and structures that supports the idea of buying, and if price remains below our key level, we look out for patterns and structures that supports the idea of selling that particular asset. Now, we saw price break out of the key level yesterday to form a new high, giving us a resistant line at the 2143 level. We had that marked out there. Then we also added the support line where price action started the week around the $2072 area, close to that key level area. So it was more of a range, and then we were around this area yesterday when we saw price action break down our key level. And if we follow through with our expectations when price breaks down the key level, we want to be looking out for patterns and structures that supports the idea of selling that asset. And look at what we had here. We said we will be selling at the retest of the 2072, and look at what happened. We saw multiple selling pressure around that area, which lasted about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours before price dropped significantly to the downside. And with multiple entries, we were able to maximize the potential of that bearish move. And for those of us who capitalize on this, once again, well done and kudos to you for being on standby to take advantage of these opportunities. Now, for those of us who still have a sell position running at this juncture, it is appropriate that we move our stop losses right now. Let's secure this position as we are beginning to notice the resumption of some buying pressure around that $2018 area and $2020 area during the Asian session today. And for me, this may be as an indication that the US interest rates majority are thinking now that the US interest rate may have peaked, and with dovish Fed expectations and subdued US Treasury bond yields, it appears that the US dollar rally from yesterday may be thinning out at any point in time. So the resumption of buy pressure here cannot be ignored. So let's ensure that we secure all our sell positions right now. And I'm of the opinion around the $2040 area seems most appropriate to secure all sell positions, as we may be seeing some buying opportunity come in favor of the gold. And let's see how we are going to be capitalizing on that one. Now, and also remember that today we are looking forward to the US, what's it called? What's the name again? ISM Services PMI, which is another high impactful event. And I can see, if you look at the nature of price action since the later part of the New York session yesterday, that's about 12 to 15 hours, we saw this little bit of consolidation phase around here, which for me is a sign that participants or key players in the market would probably have stepped aside with the hopes of waiting to see what the data and figures will be like before placing any aggressive bet on this particular asset. So with a well-secured position at this juncture, what is going to be our plans for today's trading session? Well, first of all, let me share with you what things are looking like on the 4 hours time frame, as it will be very, very important that we take that into consideration while we plan for today's trading session. Now, for those of you who watch my video on the XAUUSD, you will be familiar with the structure I identified on the 4 hours time frame. Remember, we had this ascending channel which buttresses the strength of the buyers in this market, and since the beginning of the month of November, I connected the series of higher lows, giving me the support line of that ascending channel, and then we had the series of higher highs connected to give us the resistant line of the ascending channel. Now, something interesting happened last week, Tuesday. We saw price break out of the resistant line of that ascending channel to incite the idea that buyers are gaining momentum. So we saw the breakout retest that resulted in this strong move, and then this might be a retracement back, which also break down the resistant line and back into this area. Now, the fact that price was unable to touch the support line of the ascending channel is a sign for me that buyers may likely be building some momentum to continue the uptrend. Now, the farther the price to the support line is, the higher the chances that buyers may likely push price to the upside. Then another thing I would like to share with you here is this range between the 2050 and the 2030. And in fact, you will see that the support line of that range appeared to be respected by some buying pressure in the last 12 hours. Now, if price remains above the $2,030 area, a level which is known for buying pressure since the later part of November's trading session, as you will see here, could incite buying opportunities to the upside. And if price action goes on to break out of the 2050, price will be back above the resistance line of the ascending channel to further emphasize the strength of the buyers at this point. So what we are going to be doing today is to make sure that we understand the psychology of price action around the $2,030 area to guide our trading decisions for today. So how do we do that? Don't worry, we'll scale down into the 1 hour time frame to see our participant in this market has been reacting to that $2,030 area. In fact, I want to allow it show here on the 1 hour time frame, so I will just do this right here. So when we scale down into the 1 hour time frame, we will be able to see where the $2,030 area is. Now we are right here at the 2030. Price is has been trading above that area since the Asian session. We've been seeing some buy pressure around that area. Now what we are seeing now is a consolidation phase between we have the $2,037.50 level. So let me mark this one out. In fact, I would like to make this color a little bit different from the other colors here. So what do I do here? Should I give it a purple color? Can that? Okay, I give it a purple color instead. So we have the $2,037.50 level. $2,037.50 level right here. Place this right at the top. Give it a purple color too as well. And then this one too right here, I want to give it a purple color too as well, so that it will emphasize the range where our center of focus is going to be for today. So back into the candle chart here, we have a situation, right? So I will just zoom right in, as this is where our center of focus is going to be for today. So we have the $2,030 level, and we have the $2,037.50 level where price action has been confined throughout the Asian session. Now you know how we do it in this community. Whenever we have a beautiful range like this, we want to exercise patience and wait for either the breakout of the range to happen for buying opportunities, or the breakdown of the range to happen for selling opportunities. And remember how important the $2,030 area is on the higher time frame. Remember, it has been a very strong buying niche in this market. So we want to be buying above the $2,037.50 level. Now, let me reiterate this. There are two ways to which we can capitalize on breakouts in this community, especially when we gradually move into the second half of the week. Now, the first one is for those of us who are profitable on this asset so far this week, we can afford to place a buy stop order or sell stop order at the breakout or breakdown of structures that we identified on this chart. And the reason why that is simply because we are profitable and we can afford to leverage on some of the profits we had made so far in the week to test what is around that area and see if it will work. If it doesn't work, we do know that we are only risking some of the profit we have made and not our real money in our account. However, if you are joining us for the first time and this is your first position here, that is, you don't have anything to leverage on, then you want to wait for a breakout or breakdown and retest of structure for confirmations before you want to be jumping into that position. So you want to be marking out these levels here between the $2,037.50 area and the $2,030 area, where depending on the breakout, the direction of the breakout will give us an insight into where price is likely going for today. So let's mark that level out and let's see how this is going to play out. And remember, I mentioned earlier that for those of us who still have a sell position running, kindly move all your stop losses accordingly. Secure your positions, as anything could happen around this area. So that's my view on the XAUUSD for today. It has been a wonderful moment with you guys. So I do not know if you have any questions whatsoever. Feel free to let me know in the comment section. So while I round off, please, if you have found this content helpful and useful in making your independent trading decision, kindly support this project by giving the video a thumbs up. Your likes are valuable to me, and in fact it also helps the algorithm promote the video to a wider audience of traders who may find this content beneficial to them. Let's grow this community together, and thank you very much as you do so. So with that being said, let's see if there are any questions, and if there are none, we just round off. So I'll just take the next 10 to 15 seconds off, see if there are any questions before we round off the session. I see your comment, Adeni Babalola. Thank you very much for the compliment. Glad to have you around with us this morning. Trust you had a wonderful weekend too out there. All right, so in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we are all on the same page, and we have duly marked out these levels that we will be using to guide our trading decisions for today's trading session. So it has been a wonderful moment with you guys. I really enjoyed every single moment I had with you. I love the positive energy in the house. Thank you very much, guys. And in fact, we were able to attend to 3 major assets today: USOILSPOT, the GBPUSD, and finally the XAUUSD, all of which we were able to identify simple trading setup using fundamental tools such as trend lines, key levels, and chart patterns to unravel the potential trajectory of price action for today's trading session. So I do hope we marked out the levels on our chart accordingly and the trend lines, as we want to exercise patience and wait for our structures to mature before we jump into any positions. And always remember that every decision we make in the financial market is more or less an educated guess, and until price action hits your TP target. So in that regard, you want to be having a well-defined risk management strategy that you want to adopt consistently across all of your positions from your account. So it has been a great day. I see your comment, Road to Freedom. Thank you very much, guys. And on this note, I wish us all the best of luck. Yes, and for those of us who joined for the first time, I do hope you are able to gain 1 or 2 things from what we discussed here today. And if you did, I look forward to seeing more of you same time tomorrow, 9:05 a.m. West African time, 8:05 a.m. UTC, as we come here again to review how well these assets have been doing so far, and at the same time prepare for tomorrow's trading session. So on this note, I wish us all the best of luck today, and see you all in the comment section of both my TradingView Telegram platform and of course during the XAUUSD live window. I dropped the XAUUSD live window link right in the comment section. It's pinned at the top. You want to click on that link, click on the notify me button so that you can be part of the XAUUSD real-time price action monitoring during the New York session today. See you all there. Trade smart, trade consciously, and do have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye-bye.